The XC60 doesn't pack a 5-cylinder engine or rock wagon proportions like Volvos of the past, but its Swedish set of ideals still make it a standout in the class. If you enjoy fun, detailed car content without fluff, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. Yes, Volvo has been owned by a Chinese holdings company for a little while now, but these are for the most part designed by people with long Swedish names, and the XC60 in particular is built in Sweden. The biggest news for 2023 is that the trims finally make sense. We'll start out with the Core, then the Plus, and the Ultimate, which I have next to me. Only on the plug-in hybrid will Volvo offer a Polestar engineered trim. My beef with the previous setup was that it was almost too configurable. Theoretically, you could tailor the base model to have more features than the high trim, which had fancier seats and materials. But actually finding the specific outfit you wanted was almost as impossible as getting glitter out of anything. So with these three trims, you have the traditional step approach. Each one will give you more features, but Volvo does offer a few packages, which adds a couple niceties on the inside, along with headlight pressure washers. Volvo also uses a unique windshield cleaner system where it sprays out of the wipers themselves. And that's standard, along with rain-sensing windshield wipers, full LED headlights, and parking sensors. But my favorite part of the option list here is that you can choose whether or not you want a bright or dark theme. It's simple, and it also doesn't cost you extra to black out the thing like on most other luxury vehicles. And if you're looking for a straightforward buying experience, check out Royal South Volvo, the small dealership that has let me test drive various Volvos over the years. They are located in Bloomington, Indiana, and have a devoted, honest staff. Give them a call if you're in the market. If you don't plan on showing restraint with your luxury SUV, this does have a respectable 8.5 inches of ground clearance with the static suspension for whatever obstacle crawling needs you may have. Thankfully, this also comes standard with nice touches like proximity unlock and lock, power folding mirrors, and 18-inch wheels, so a respectable amount of sidewall. Or you'll get 19s on the Plus, 20s on the Ultimate, but within those trims you can also opt for larger wheels like my 21s. And if you were wondering, this is Thunder Gray and it will cost you extra. According to Volvo, all XC60s will have a power rear tailgate. Another helpful feature available is a 360 view camera, and this is going to come on the Plus trim. And all cars will have Volvo's distinctive LED taillights. I don't really talk too much aesthetics, but I think overall, especially with this gray color and the dark theme, this is a really sharp looking SUV. In fact, I would say it's better looking than its BMW and Audi counterparts, but this is all subjective, so let me know what you think in the comments section. In the front seat of the Volvo XC60, you're going to have a distinctively Swedish experience. What that means to me is a pretty standard layout with great details. Things like these big clicky vents, the long sweeping wood trim that goes across the dashboard, the crystal shifter that comes on the Ultimate trim, the little Swedish flags kind of hidden throughout the interior. You have this big metallic chunky feeling door handle and a tactile centrally located ignition knob. The rest of the interior feels traditionally luxurious. Its approach is just slightly different than most competitors, like it sits in a German uncanny valley. And yes, it retains the ability to smack rear seat occupants if you wish. While this does have a high quality feel, I do think it falls short of the Audis and BMWs in a couple areas. Like, I don't appreciate the gloss black plastic, especially in the areas that I'm touching a lot, like on the steering wheel, which on the Core trim goes back to a matte finish, but it gets dirty quickly. The same thing down here next to the shifter. And the touchscreen too doesn't exactly scream money, but it is just a 9-inch screen here. But Volvo's transitioned the previous UI to a similar feeling Google version, and honestly, I think the previous setup was more intuitive. This one still works. You have your settings down here where You can access various things, but it's not as like in-depth. Like I really can't tweak the standard driver display as much as I would like, which is kind of a shame because it does have a nice resolution. It's very easy to quickly read, but yeah, it doesn't show as much as I would like it to. But back to the screen, it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it doesn't have those wireless. The controls are also laid out like a scatterbrained filing cabinet. In the future, I'd like to see it as more intuitive and aesthetically pleasing like the new EX90 without ditching the buttons and dials though. One reason to step up to the Ultimate would be higher quality materials on the dashboard, along with different seats. So in the standard car, you're gonna have leatherette, the Plus is gonna have true leather, and then this has Napa leather, which is a softer, different kind of grain. I think that the standard seats may have an advantage in comfort if you want a more plush cushion, but here with the firmer seats, you have a lot more adjustment. So you can extend out the thigh support, which is nice if you're a taller driver. I'm 6'3", and it's made for a more pleasant experience. It also allows you to adjust the bolstering, which I think is a great feature. And the XC60 really comes with quite a few as standard, not including heated front seats though. You actually have to get all-wheel drive or the climate package in order to get the front seats heated. That package will also add the heated steering wheel. You'll have dual zone automatic climate control standard, a big panoramic sunroof standard, navigation is standard, and a 10-speaker audio system. Step up to the Plus and you get ambient lighting, those remote folding rear headrests, and the availability of a well-rounded Harman Kardon sound system that becomes standard if you indulge on the Ultimate, which also rewards you with ventilated front seats, head-up display, and enhanced ambient lighting with the availability of the historically tear-jerking 15-speaker Bowers & Wilkins sound system for an also tear-jerking $3,200. You do have relatively soft touch points for your elbows and your outboard knee, but I wish there was like better materials here on the center console area other than just various forms of plastic, which does make this feel less opulent than some of its competitors. That becomes harder to swallow if you have it loaded up with options. However, I still love the overall aesthetic. Though for a lot of people, I think the back seat will more than make up for some of the shortcomings up front. With the front seat set to a comfortable yet not excessive seating position, we have space back here that could rival much larger luxury crossovers. My tall frame has knee room to spare along with a little bit of headroom too. We have plenty of vents here to complement our 4-zone automatic climate control that comes with the Ultimate. And honestly, I think the seats maybe are a little bit softer too, and they're heated if you get the climate package on the all-wheel drive models. This actually offers a booster seat in the back, but going with that will sacrifice the heated availability. There's also a very low floor for this class, so the seats have a phenomenal amount of support. If you're picking a luxury SUV that is going to be primarily used for family duties, the XC60 is among the best out there, especially when you consider the safety aspect. Of course, this is going to come with every single active safety feature standard on each trim, but Volvo also consistently knocks it out of the park on every crash test. While significantly less safe, the cargo area of the Volvo XC60 is equally as impressive. The cargo space back here is equivalent to something like a Mazda CX-5, but when you consider the additional insulation that you usually get with a luxury SUV, this is pretty competitive. Of course, you can fold down the rear seats, but you also do have a rear pass-through, which is nice to see, but having a 40-20-40 split row would have been more helpful, along with rear seat releases to knock them down. Powering the XC60 is a responsive 2-liter turbocharged inline-4. However, as is the case with all Volvos now, you will have a mild hybrid system. So it's a 48-volt setup, and its main purpose is to make for a smoother auto stop-start function, and maybe it helps more on emissions, but when it comes to gas mileage, you're looking at an improvement of about 1 mile per gallon, though it's still a respectable figure for the class. This power plant is going to make 248 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, which are pretty middle-of-the-road numbers for this class, especially considering the one I'm driving here today, and it's fully decked out form costs about $60,000. That is labeled as the B5. The B6 is going to signify a turbo and supercharged version. So you have the supercharger there to reduce lag, and That is going to make this much more peppy, 316 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, and that's still not the most powerful one you can get. You can actually get a plug-in hybrid version, dubbed the Recharge, which will bump things up to 455 horsepower. Volvo says that'll get you to 60 in 4.5 seconds. These will all be hooked up to an 8-speed automatic transmission that, for the most part, does a good job of putting the power to the ground. Sometimes at lower speeds there's a slight jerkiness to it, probably related to the mild hybrid setup, but noteworthy nonetheless. It's for the most part though a very smooth shifting transmission, works in the background pretty well, and you do of course have a manual mode, but no paddle shifters if that's what you were looking for. You also have available sport modes and a Polestar tune, which I don't believe makes any more power anymore. It used to. Now it just shortens engine and transmission response time and allows for quicker shifts to make it feel more eager. Here without it, the B5 powertrain feels responsive yet not athletic. Let's see what the numbers have to say about the acceleration. I don't see a way to shut off traction control, so all I'm gonna do is just have AC off and give it the beans. Definitely takes off the line pretty good, but shifting is odd, and we got a 0 to 60 time there of 7.1 seconds at about a 2,000 foot density altitude, so not exactly great. Maybe I could drop that time on a different day, but the important thing is that it pulls hard at low speeds, has adequate passing power, and avoids gear hunting. Again, front wheel drive is standard, but the latest 4th gen Haldex all-wheel drive system is available. That can deliver up to half of the torque to the rear wheels and will primarily act as front wheel drive. Since I had 0 wheel spin in my acceleration test, it seems like they've done a good job at getting power to the rear wheels before spin is even detected. Bringing this up to highway speeds is an easy process. Not too much drama to it, not exactly effortless. At 65 miles per hour, this thing is revving around 1,600, 1,700 RPMs. It's quiet, but not hushed. I definitely hear some tire noise coming in. However, I would at least say that it's on par with what the segment usually offers. On imperfect roads, here with the ultimate XC60, I think that the ride comes off a little bit more firm, and partially due to the suspension, but also due to the more firm seats. Still, I think this is kind of a forgiving enough ride for the class. Nothing that I've taken it over so far has really crashed into the cabin, and it feels very controlled. However, don't expect it to be luxury boat posh. Though I do think without the 4-corner air suspension, the Volvo XC60 strikes a decent balance between sport and comfort and has a rather smooth disposition. But if you're in the Midwest, maybe consider going with a Core or Plus that has 18 or 19-inch wheels and softer seats. I don't have driving modes, but I do have steering feel firm, and it makes a difference that is just barely perceptible. It handles pretty well though. Yeah, I kind of wish I had paddle shifters now, but you know, there's still a fair amount of body roll, but I think the seats here are almost fooling me a little bit because I have adjustable bolstering and I have the bolsters like all the way on, so it actually holds me in. The car itself does have a numb but precise and well-weighted feel to it. Throwing it through imperfect corners here, this has a luxury car level poise. Not the most supple suspension, again, just because it is maybe a touch firm, but it does keep itself composed like I would expect if I'm paying this much. While there are SUVs that have more quick reacting steering, this still leaves me feeling confident. If you want a more fun and engaging luxury vehicle, I've heard good things about the BMW X3, and maybe also consider something like a Genesis GV70. Another pro that I find with a lot of Volvos, and one that's been around for a while, is good visibility. The windshield doesn't feel too far away, feels large, the window line is pretty low, and even around back, the glass is big. Plus you have blind spot monitoring here standard, so for a luxury SUV, it's a pretty easy car to just jump in and drive. Assuming it starts. So let's get to the spooky part of a luxury car review, Reliability. This was released for the 2018 model year. The engine and transmission seem to be holding up well after digging through owner reviews and reported issues. Electrical woes have accumulated though the last couple of years, and when they debuted the mild hybrid for the 2022 model, many cars had a drain on the little hybrid battery that would brick the car. I've mentioned this in a previous Volvo video because a dealer actually told me about this happening on the lot. They have since told me that the issue has been patched up, but the electrical, infotainment, brake, and power steering problems that some customers have complained about the last few years makes me wary to recommend to a person that holds dependability as a top priority. As standard, you'll have all sorts of safety features, like autonomous braking and lane departure prevention. You also can get adaptive cruise if you go up to the Plus, and that's going to come with a steering system that is mad at me right now. Volvo is definitely trying to make more strides here with autonomous systems, and this has definitely proved to me that they can be capable. But even if you skip out on that, this still comes with reverse automatic braking and a driver fatigue system that can help alert you if it thinks you're slipping behind the wheel. The impressive safety, handling, and comfort combo, classy details, abundant features, and big passenger space make the XC60 one of the best all-around luxury SUVs you can buy around the $50,000 mark. If you're looking for a premium crossover, I'd strongly advise test driving one. However, I do have a personal concern here for the legacy of Volvo. The XC60 is a great car, but as their lineup becomes more complicated, complaints over buggy mechanical and software components seem to grow. And one aspect that I've loved about Volvos was their dedication to hearing customer feedback and focusing on how people use their cars or how well they perform in real-world crashes. It helped give them their distinct role among the upscale brands. And while they do remain invested in safety equipment and sales appear to be strong, it's starting to seem like they really need to prove they can still listen, at least if they plan on growing their niche. So for the next few years, I'll be watching Scandinavia very closely. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like to help me stun the YouTube algorithm. Want more? Subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and thank you to my loyal patrons. I'll catch you in the next one.
I forgot about that.